Gemini season is the time of year where we flip the script on our regularly scheduled program. Gemini is all about breaking free from mental constructs, from our usual thought patterns, which lead to words that we commonly say, which lead to actions that we commonly will take. So Gemini is air in the form of thoughts. It is the quickest of the air signs. It's actually the first of the air signs, followed by Libra, which is air in the form of a conversation between two or more people, which is then followed by Aquarius, which is air in the form of the most vast, expansive, like the peak of the mountaintop, where you're able to have the full range of overlooking down into the valley. So it's that big picture perspective. So while we're in Gemini season, we're really focusing on our own thoughts. And if you would just sit for 2 minutes and close your eyes, focus on your breathing, you will notice how many thoughts run through your mind in that course of a 2-minute period. If we were able to focus our thoughts just for 2 minutes on one thing, which is in aligned with what our heart and our creativity in our solar plexus area and our pelvis, like if we were to align all of those things, just say your mind, your body, and the movements of your body. If we could align all of those just for 2 minutes, we would be able to manifest anything because we're having our thoughts in alignment with what our true desires are and with what we're actually doing in life. So Gemini season is the time to focus on what we're thinking of and to really make changes to those thought processes. One way that you can do that is by doing a practice like meditation, pranayama, breathing exercises. These two are really, really good for at least getting to see the contents of your mind. You will be quite surprised to find out the thoughts that are unconsciously rolling through your mind on a day-to-day basis, which meditation allows you to really see what's going on in there. So let's talk a little bit about Gemini as Thoth, or Thoth is the Greek name for Jehuti, which would be the Kemetic name for this same archetype. So we go from Jehuti to Thoth in the Greek, and then to Mercury in the Roman pantheon. It's all the same character, the same architecture of our mind, which has to do with the thought processes. And if we go all the way back to Jehuti in ancient Kemet, this is going to be the deity associated with the beginning of knowledge. Jehuti is known for writing the alphabet, for bringing language, and for being the ancient scribe who's kept track of all of history and has to do everything with learning and education, transmission of divine knowledge, of also communication between, they would say in the Roman pantheon with Mercury, sending messages between the gods. So Mercury, and you might wonder why I'm talking about Mercury if this is a video about Gemini. Well, Mercury is known to be the planetary ruler of Gemini. So every planet has a sign or a place in the wheel of the year that is most resonant and related with each of the signs or the seasons, the places in the year, if we're looking at the tropical zodiac, which I am. Mercury, being the planetary force, which is most like Gemini, is going to give us some clues about how to engage during Gemini season. So if we take it back to Jehuti with the original form of the planet Mercury, of that deity that has to do with divine information and the transmission of information. We know that Gemini season is the time, in fact, to really get clear on what you are channeling, what is coming through you. How are you using your body as a divine transmitter for information? These are some questions that we're going to be looking at as we go through Gemini season. So what I would like you to do right now is to grab your notebook and write out a few things that you know are habituated thought trains or thought patterns that are in your life right now that you would like to change. Now, if you don't know what thought trains you're jumping on a regular basis, day in and day out, sit for 2 minutes and focus on your breathing. And it's so beautiful that the breath is what we're focusing on, because the breath is the pathway or a vehicle for letting that divinity be transferred. So we focus on the breath to get really in tune with what we are channeling. So if you just focus for 2 minutes, I guarantee you will see some of your original thought trains. So you're going to take your journal and write out some of the things that you know you are constantly thinking about on repeat, and carry that with you for the rest of Gemini season. And notice whenever you jump on that thought train. One thing that I learned from my Tantra yoga teacher, this was from Habitual, he said, if you are continuously jumping on the same thought train, or that you had the same thought more than once a day, write that down. Write it down. And then look at it. Is there something that I can do about this? If it is a thought that you keep having, but there's nothing you can do about it, maybe you work to let that thought go somewhere else. And if it's a thought that you keep having and you can do something about it, go do it so you can get that thought out of your mind. Another thing that comes to mind here is in the middle of the night when people wake up, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., by the way, the time that you constantly wake up, if there is a consistency with that, there are organs associated with certain times of the night. And if you keep waking up at that time, likely there's something going on with that specific organ, and you can address that. When you wake up at that time, you can take your journal and put the thoughts that you're ruminating over into the journal. Then in the morning when you wake up, you have it there. It's all safe. Sometimes we just continuously recycle thoughts in our mind because we want to make sure that we get something done, or we don't want to let something go. So we'll keep thinking it over and over. But if you just write that down in your notebook or your journal, you can address those things. Set aside a whole day where you're just addressing the thought trains that you're constantly jumping on. So you can stop thinking those thoughts because, and another thing, you need to say it, teach it, talk about it. If you're constantly thinking about a thing, talking about it will get it out of your head. Something that one of my mentors, this was Denise D, something that she had me do when I was working with her in 2016, was to get in front of a camera and say it. Say everything that was going through my head, everything that I needed to say. And then I wouldn't be saying that stuff when I was working or trying to teach a class about a certain thing. It's like the same with the morning pages that work from the Artist's Way. You write. Wake up every morning and just fill up the page with all your thoughts that are coming into your head so you can empty out those thoughts. You got to get them out. Gemini season is about that. Let me tell you one more thing. It's the vibration in your sound, the sound of your voice that's coming out. This is rippling, making a ripple effect into the universe, into the space around you, into the space that you're sharing with the plants, with the spirits, with the other people. This vibration is so powerful, so much so that this Jehuti, Thoth, Mercury has been known for transmitting information, which is where we get Heka or magic. It's our will, which is in our, you could call it like a Mars energy in our solar plexus. Our will reaches up to our voice and says something, which creates this ripple effect out in the world, which creates movement. It is how we make magic. It's your intention, what's the emotion behind it, your willpower, and your voice. These three things together create magic. Now, if you're using that unconsciously, you're creating things that you don't necessarily want to be experiencing. So for Gemini season, what we're going to be doing is focusing on feeling what's really going on in our body, writing it out, letting it rise up and out through the arms. You know, Gemini is associated with these two limbs that if you look at your body from your pelvis rising up, and then the two arms is, maybe I didn't mention this, Gemini is the twins. It's like two lovers. They're always together, but they're not the same thing. And also Gemini is known to be androgynous. It is both male and female, left and right. It's the polarity. And so when we do things with our hands, we're able to move that energy that's within our body. So when you feel your emotions, you write them down on paper. You didn't have to say it necessarily. You're getting it out, you're moving it. And what's beneath the top layer, there's more beneath it that can be real gems. The new moon is happening now. So what I like to do is be in the dark, which it is now. And then when I get the first glimpse of the crescent moon, I write, what is my intention? What are my wishes? And now that we are in a new moon, in a Gemini lunation, it's so important that you're speaking words of power, letting your vibration be felt throughout the universe. Don't say the things you don't want. Don't talk about them anymore, not for Gemini season. And just by me saying that, probably they're all going to come up. When that comes up, write it out. And you can burn the paper after you write out all the things that's just the trash, the things that are just debris that you don't want. Write it out. You don't want to continue having those same thoughts. You want new thoughts, new mistakes to make, new actions to take. So that's what we're doing for Gemini season. One more thing I want to mention is that this new moon is with Venus. So we are in such an important time, which has to do with when you put Venus, you add Venus to a new moon, we're getting new opportunities in how we generate resources. But first, what do we value? What is a resource to you? In Gemini, it's likely going to be something that's related to thoughts, to information, to being able to channel those divine insights, the epiphanies that we get. Because Gemini has to do with the way that our body is transmitting information, and also the magic that we can make by connecting our emotions with our will and intent and our voice. So adding Venus now adds in, what is your values? What do you want? What do you love? Who do you love? Who do you want to share resources with? All those Venusian things, pleasure, comfort, luxury. And in Gemini, again, it is about what are we saying to each other? And this thing about the spiral of time, this infinity of possibilities that happens with Gemini. You know, Gemini is the trickster. It's also like the magician, as is Mercury, the magician. all things are possible. So what are you wishing for? What would you just absolutely love to experience in your 3D or 5D middle world reality? Write it down and talk about it, and don't stop talking about it. Gemini is known for talking, and while we are in Gemini season, practice allowing your central channel to open wider, to receive more information, and to allow yourself to say what you're sensing and to really tap into the ways that you are a channel of divine inspiration. Thank you so much for watching the video. I look forward to connecting with you again soon.